The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, the perfect place for a pre-match pint. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. In fact, it's our second Sheffield Wednesday podcast of the week. I think that just goes to show just how much is going on at the moment at S6. I'm James, I'm in the hot seat tonight, and with me, a head's grown about 3 times its normal size today. It's Vic. Is that Vic from TalkSport that we're connected with there?
Yes, hi, Vic from TalkSport. I think you'll find me in the same regard as Sir Chris Waddle and Sir Michael Parkinson and anyone else who's been on the radio. I've had numerous tweets. I think more tweets than James gets when he's on things. So, hi.
When you mean I'm on the TV, that's what you mean. When I'm
I've always
TV.
had a face for radio, James. Let's be honest.
And also with us, Dan Fudge. What have you done? I don't know, any newspapers or radio or anything today?
Well, I had a tweet that that got 800 likes last week, but that was about it. That's all.
Did you? What was that?
I mocked the way that Raheem Sterling was running on. It said it was really funny actually. It said it kind of annoyed me because I've done funnier tweets than that. But describe Raheem Sterling's season in one word, and I wrote Velma and put a GIF of Velma from Scooby Doo running across the thing, and it was retweeted by the boxer Jamie Moore. And it 2:00 in the afternoon.
Good work, very good work.
Yeah, well, that was
you have actually you've pinned that, Fudge, and that's a bit cringe when someone pins.
Well, no,
it's because
people want to know,
it,
why I'm so famous. You know what I mean? So I just thought I'd show why.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you find that it goes quiet for a bit and then suddenly you get like a series of people liking it and retweeting it again?
Yeah, I find it really weird. I think that's it went quiet the other day, and I got a bit of a spike on it, and I find it weird. It's odd. It's weird being internet celebrity. You know, I'm not like you guys.
Reply to everyone as well. Everyone who's commented saying that's funny. You're like, thanks.
It only got about 4 comments. It was just likes. It was didn't really get many comments. Stop mocking me on. Be mocked.
When we had Louis Tomlinson come into the radio station and obviously post a photo of me and him, and as you'd imagine, it goes absolutely crazy with One Direction fans liking it, and then it'll go quiet for about 2 days, and then you get one more like, and that sets it off again, and it just goes on and on and on, and then like random things happen. Like a week afterwards, it got like a like from Dom from The Star. And then, a week after that, someone completely random, and it all sets off again.
Of course, it got a like from Dom
Crazy.
from The Star. Dom's probably got notifications on for whenever you tweet.
I think he's actually just a fan of Louis Tomlinson, and let's face it, who isn't? Who isn't? Right then, let's get down to business. Let's talk about some football, which I'm sure you are all dying to do.
Can we not just go through Fudge's Twitter for a bit longer? I think.
It's pretty racist today. You don't want any of that. You know what I mean? If there's kids reading.
Nah. No, obviously I've already done a podcast this week because me and James from the Owls of Americast got together last night and recorded a bit. So I'm just kind of going to sit back really and kind of let you guys fight it out. So first up, we had Brentford. That feels like ages ago now. It was on Saturday. So much has happened since then. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Saturday down at Brentford, and I mean, it wasn't the best performance in the world.
I'm not gonna lie. I've not seen it. I don't tend to watch telly when we've lost. I do watch your clips, obviously. But no, I've not seen it. I listened to it on wireless, as I do. But yeah, it sounded pretty awful, to be honest. I think the only person I'm sure will come to him later is Joe Wildsmith that can hold his head high over the last couple of weeks.
I'm just absolutely bereft of things to say. I think I've been boring people off. I mean, as you know, I live in Southampton, and nobody really cares about the plight to Sheffield Wednesday, and I've been and anybody who's gone, I'm a Wednesday fan, and I've been bending the ear roll off the last few days at anybody who'll care to listen to me about this this current slump we're in. But when it comes to Brentford, I think this was the start. These last two games, this is the start of it being going from a bad season to utterly shambolic. I think we got a bit of a, I think, who is it? It's Newcastle fans. You know, there are a group of Newcastle fans that don't like Kevin Keegan because he gave them a taste of a life he deserved. And there is an element of that with Leigh Bull's win against Nottingham Forest, where we go, well, there you are. That's it. You know, the animals are off the reins. Let's let them go. This is happening now, kids. Let's get bullied till end of bloody season. It's happening. And then now we've had his backside handed to us twice now and played poor football. Because I don't like using this word because it seems to have been accosted by football a lot. But we're looking rudderless once again. We don't play sustainable football. Under Carlos, we were playing football where we go 1 or 2-0 behind and try and sneak in the last 10 minutes. Or under Leigh Bull, and we're playing, well, I want to say gung-ho football, but it's not like we're scoring any. But it's wrong within the club. People like to link it with what's going on back of house and what's going on the pitch, and then you have players coming out going, well, you know, these things don't happen. You know, I'm on the pitch. It doesn't matter what's happening back of house. I don't know. And if anybody can shed a light on it, just give me a tweet or something, because I'm sick to death of talking about it, and I'm boring myself now.
So that's Brentford then.
Did you have a nice time though, James? Because you'll have seen Billy and everybody, and it's regardless of the score, Brentford's always a nice trip, isn't it, to see those guys?
Yeah, it is, and as me and James said yesterday on the bit that we recorded, the whole day actually was brilliant, with the exception of kind of 2 hours right in the middle where we went to watch a football match. We probably shouldn't have bothered with the football match. You know, we were having a grand time in the pub, and we didn't really want to leave. We left it till as late as possible, and we should have just stayed there and not really bothered with the football side of it in hindsight. Yeah, I mean, on the pitch there weren't really many positives. There were a couple of players who seemed to have a degree of something about them, and I'm kind of looking really at Adam Reach, and this probably rolls into the Burton game, because I think across both the Burton and Brentford game, there's kind of there's been a couple of decent performers, and they've really been probably Reach, Zhao, and probably Joe Wildsmith, really. And that's, you know, Joe Wildsmith's conceded 5 goals in 2 games. How many of them are his fault? Well, probably none, really, to be fair. You know, defensively, it's just been absolutely calamitous. So yeah, I mean, not a lot that you can really take from that game from a positive point of view.
I did hear Dean Smith was watching though, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, actually, anyone that listens or caught on Twitter that Billy, who obviously is a big Brentford fan, he does the Besotted podcast, and he had a chat with a few Wednesday fans after the game, and the subject of Dean Smith being linked to Wednesday came up, and I kind of pushed him on it a bit, actually, and asked him, you know, are you worried about it? And it's quite an interesting listen, really, because what he said is, firstly, no, not worried at all, because if Dean Smith goes, then they've got the next Dean Smith waiting in the wings, ready to come in. And also the point of the fact, if you look at kind of what Mark Warburton's done since he left Brentford, which is basically nothing, there's not really any suggestion that Dean Smith is anything special in terms of being a manager. He just works well within the system that Brentford have got. But anyway, it's quite an interesting chat. So if anyone that gets a chance to have a quick listen to that, then dig it out on Twitter or on the internet. If you search for Besotted, then you'll be able to find it. Let's forget about Brentford. Let's talk about something much happier. Let's talk about Burton. Vic, obviously you were there.
Oh, Christ alive.
Give us.
I was there till 80 minutes.
Give us your lowdown. Give us your lowdown.
Oh yeah, of course, because you were poorly, weren't you? I was poorly, but forced myself. It's one of those things, isn't it? I go on about living nearby all the time, and it's all well and dandy until you have to go to every sodding match. Like you can't make the excuse, and it wasn't on telly. I thought, oh God, so I've got to go. Um, so it started off well, as did your day in Brentford. We went to the Riverside Cafe, where outside bar has heaters now. So that was nice. We sat outside there talking to the cop end.
By the way, apologies that I didn't come down to see you. It was too warm.
Were you
inside.
there?
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was upstairs. I
I
thought
thought
about
you were
it.
poorly. I thought you just weren't there.
No, I was there. I stayed till 92 minutes, I think.
Oh,
Despite
well,
the fact
brilliant.
that I was poorly, dying, sick, deathbed, barely breathing.
Hi, Fudge. How are you? Anyway, but yeah, it was. I mean, come on, that. Oh, I've said it before, and I'll say it a million times until this bloody ends. But Louvens to Wildsmith now, Wildsmith to Louvens, Louvens to what we now know is one of the most horrific things to ever do, to Butterfield, Butterfield to Louvens, Louvens to Butterfield, Butterfield to Burton Albion, and it's just like what are we doing? And I mean, people are slating him for the penalty as well. I think, in fairness to him, he did what any other player would have done. He had to crunch him down. He had to just try and stop that mistake from going any further. Which obviously, he maybe had a bit of faith in Wildsmith that he would save that penalty. And had he have made that challenge 20 seconds, 0.20 of a second earlier, he may well have got away with it and just got the ball. As it stood, it was a reckless challenge, but he had to do it. He had no option there. He'd already made the mistake. It was horrible. It shouldn't have happened from a professional footballer. It certainly shouldn't have happened in play from a professional footballer and the club captain who has played at some of the highest levels, and it shouldn't have happened. The second goal just doesn't bear talking about, does it? It just really doesn't. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. The third goal I heard when I turned the burglar alarm off when I got in, so don't know what that one was like, but the rest of it was just diabolical. And I mean, you've only got to watch Bullen's reaction after the match. Even that guy who you literally chop off his arm and there'd be blue and white blood everywhere, he doesn't want to do it. He said, we need a new manager in ASAP. I don't want this job. It's awful. It was just a horrible day all round.
Ruined Christmas. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, this was the second phase in going from a poor season to a shambles of a season. This has been a mess. And for Leigh Bullen afterwards Leigh Bullen came out and said, well, I don't want it, essentially. He went, we need to get a new coach in quick. Whoever wants to sort this mess out, come and get it. It's like David Cameron after Brexit. Oh, it didn't happen. See you later. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what happened. And I don't know what's happened to Glenn Louvens. There was a bit in Reading where he cropped one of their strikers on the halfway line. At the time, I thought it was hilarious, but then I thought,
oh yeah, he's
done that because he can't keep up. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to give credence to this this adage that this thing that people are talking about the lack of fitness amongst the team. And when you've got a early to mid 30s defender, fitness is key. Fitness is huge. And then you start looking at Atty Newhugh and the weight that he's put on. You look at Liam Palmer's muffin top that everybody saw the other week. You just think, yeah, there's some credence to this rumour. Do you really think that fitness is that much of an issue? Which is concerning because you don't sort out fitness issues in a space of 2 weeks. And if that is the case, and that is what's happening with the squad, and that is we are just, overweight and unfit, then prepare yourself for another few poor results coming up, because it ain't.
I mean, that comes back to the second goal again, doesn't it? Just nobody ran for that. Absolutely no one. There was only, I think was it Hunt at the last second that went in for the slide. I just saw the red boots. I presume it was Hunt. I don't know. But other than
was that the one where the striker looked like he was running in treacle and we still couldn't catch him?
The one that has literally gone viral because we were so bad. Like, so many accounts have tweeted that, like Paddy Power and whoever else, because it was so awful. And you just think, how is that happening? And I don't understand when you've had you've got a very defensive coach now as your manager. How are mistakes like that happening? But it went right the way from midfield, right the way through that. It was just dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And like James said, you've got to feel for Wildsmith. Like he's conceded 5, but none of them were his fault. He saved 2 penalties. He's a young lad. He's far too young to be a first team keeper at the moment, but he's working his way up, and that's that for me is a bloody good keeper if you can play at this level at that age and at that naivety that he will have at that age. He's not a big lads don't fill out till the mid-20s, do they really? Like Fudge, obviously you're still not quite filled out yet. And
no, I'm growing, lad.
But lads don't, do they? So he's still got that bit of a way to go, and yet he's got a 34-year-old centre half in Glenn Loovens who's shafting him week on week, just absolutely. And Loovens doesn't seem to be bothered about it. Doesn't seem to care. I know he went off injured or ill or whatever else, but I'm sorry. If I felt like shite sat watching there, absolutely awful, and it was raining, and I was pounding the cold and flu tablets like you wouldn't believe. I had to go and get toilet roll, which by the way, Mr. Chancery, is like sandpaper from the toilets because my nose was running that much. Do you know what? If I was on 10 grand a week, I'd have played, and I'd have played better than him.
Oh. What about you, James? What did you think of it all?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything everyone said. It was, it was a real low point. It was as bad as it's been for years and years and years. I kind of said coming away from the ground. Well, I think what we've got to kind of bear in mind here is that it's as makeshift a team as we've put out in years and years and years. Glenn Loovens was obviously ill. And that's not to say that he hasn't been off for the last few games that he's played anyway, but he was clearly not right.
He's terminal right now
in that game, and it was a real makeshift lineup. There is no way in the world that you would play any of those players together. You would not play our midfield kind of pairing of what was it, Butterfield and David Jones. You wouldn't play them together. Of course you wouldn't play them together. I wouldn't
play them in a Sunday League side, either of them. They're both bloody awful. Dave Jones, right, I've got this new thing now, and it works. Every time he gets the ball, right, when you watch the next match, go, ooh, 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 like you're like really frightened of something. It works every time. That's literally must be the noise he makes when the ball comes towards him. Like, oh, bollocks. Like, literally someone's just kicked him a bowl of lava, and he just doesn't know what to do with it. He's awful player. I think he's had 2 games that we've said, oh, Dave Jones did all right. That's not good enough.
Yeah, it's kind of chicken and egg though, isn't it, with Dave Jones? If I was Dave Jones, I'd want to get rid of it as soon as possible, because as soon as the ball comes near him, all that happens is people slag him off. Doesn't matter what he does with it, just get slagged off with them. But I don't think that there will ever have been a point whereby we have trained with a central midfield pairing of Jacob Butterfield and David Jones. I just don't think that's happened. So the fact that they look like they'd never seen each other before, it was probably about right. They probably haven't. They're probably not trained together with a view to them to being the central pairing. It was.
But they should be doing if everyone's bloody injured. They should be playing together, shouldn't they?
Yeah, but my point being that we'd have been concentrating on other pairings, wouldn't we? It's by default that we're playing them together. We never planned to do that. Probably the same defensively as well. What do we have by the end of it? For Anzio and Daniel Poodle being our centre half pairing. I mean, that's stuff that nightmares are made of. Only one of them's actually a central defender, and clearly we find out there's a reason why he's not even really been getting on the bench, because he's not actually very good. And the whole thing just fell to bits, and it was absolutely appalling. And we knew it was coming before the match when the point was made that Burton have never scored on New Year's Day as a Football League club, and you knew it was coming. And even when we gave away the penalty, you think, right, this is it, and then he saves it, and you think, right, we've got a lifeline here, and then we still managed to throw it away. That game could have been 4-0, and it possibly could have been more, and that is about as bad as it can possibly really get for us now. As I said in the podcast last night, which I'm sure you've both listened to several times. I tried to coming away from the game. I thought I'm going to try and come up with 5 positives to take away from this today, and one of them was, at least we now know Leigh Bull is not the answer. right? He's not going to be our new manager, and he probably needs to leave the club. He's part of an era that hasn't worked, and he needs to move on, and he needs to go somewhere else. And the other thing that we know is that, we've got a new manager coming in. We've got someone coming in that's got new ideas. If we already had that new manager and we were losing 3-0 at home to Burton Albion with a performance like that, then we really would need to worry. At least this is happening before someone new comes in. So, we hit that rock bottom point before a new manager comes in, and then they can come in with their ideas, they can work their magic, and they can sort it out. And surely that's going to be the way we look upon it.
I don't agree with Leigh Bull and leaving the club altogether. I think he's got a place, and I think that place is with the under-23s, with the development squad. I think he's a seasoned footballer. He's played all over the world, and I know from back when I was a teenager, and he sent me to Hong Kong for Christ's sake. But he was involved with every aspect of those young kids' lives. And when I was at Hillsborough working, he did his work experience in the media team. He genuinely loves this club, and I think the perfect spot for him is to nurture the up and coming talent, because I don't think I won't put my life on it, but I can't see another Jamie Vardy situation happening if Leigh Bull was in charge, because I think he'll see the potential, and he'll work on people like Jamie Vardy, who, the stories say was too small. We all know there was a lot more to it than that, but I don't think there would be that sort of an issue with a bully in charge, because the name suits. He can be a really tough, nasty guy if he's not a nasty guy. I mean, he'd do anything for anybody, but he can be that harsh if he needs to be. He can be like the cool maths teacher that you'd hate to offend or piss off, because you really don't want to upset him, because you've got so much respect for him. So I would definitely keep him in the club, but I don't think he needs to be near the first team. 100% agree with that. But I also, I mentioned this today on TalkSport, but but mentioning about the injuries.
Were you on TalkSport today?
I was actually, yeah. I'll send you a link later. I've sent it to pretty much everyone in my contacts, so you're welcome. But I said earlier, we're going on about these injuries all the time and how awful the injuries are, and yes, they are, and yes, we've got a full team 11 that actually could start and win a match are out injured. However, rewind to the beginning of the season when we sacked all the bloody medical staff. Someone's got to take some sort of blame for this. Now, whether it's Carlos who's gone, whether it's Mr. Chansiri, whether it's someone else behind the scenes, I don't know. But we cannot sit there and go, oh, well, it's injuries, because we sacked the people that were stopping people from getting injured. The minute we sacked them all, everyone, and it's not just 2 or 3, is it? It's 11 players now, 11 first team players, a full starting squad are out injured. That's not right. That's not right in any football club. That's not right at Roy of the Rovers. That's not right at Parkhill FC. That's not, you can't do that. That's absolutely political. And whoever is on that medical squad now, I would hope is really looking over their shoulders, because whoever comes in, if we get a big enough manager, which, even if it is Paul Lambert, whoever else, they'll have a good squad, they'll have a good team of people behind them. You don't just sign a manager now, you sign their entire backroom staff. So, God, I really hope that those Portuguese guys go. If they go to Swansea, fine, because I watched Swansea last night and they do Louvens to Leeds, Leeds to Westwood, Westwood to Louvens all the time. So they're welcome to go there. That is absolutely fine. But we cannot keep saying, oh, it's because of injuries, like we can as fans. If the club keep mentioning that, and just disregarding the fact that they got rid of a bloody good backroom squad who have been there for a long time, a very, very long time, then there needs to be some questions asked.
I think there's a lot of things that questions need answering. I don't disagree with you, James, about Leigh Bull, and reason being, my little brother is I don't know how much I can say, is a coach at Liverpool. And he says that, I've probably already got him in trouble now, he says that the biggest issue that Liverpool have in terms of developing is that every day there is somebody there who who's doing an interview, who's knocking around the place, who's saying to the kids, this is what it's like to be a Scouser. Now, as far as I know, as far as from being 10 years old, what it's like to be a Scouser is finishing in between 4th and about 8th every season, and they're never really managing it. So he says that as a detriment effect, because it's very difficult for the club to move forward. And I kind of do, and I don't agree with Vic in terms of, putting them around the kids and it'll show him what it'd be like to play for this club, able to teach him about how the fans can be for this club and things like that. But I think under 23 manager, like Vic says, is probably the best place for him. But are we really moving forward? What we're at this club in terms of a group of fans, but come on, we need to. Something needs to happen. Something needs to change. And as far as the backroom staff goes, it's DC's fault for saying, "Oh, you want to bring in you want to change the whole backroom staff?" Yes, that's fine, Leigh Bull. And then on the other hand, it's Carlos going, "I want him, I want him, I want him," and you're right. And Vic, they are all at Swansea. They're all there now. Part of their deal is that he's literally got the old band back together. They've gone for Wednesday, or I think there's about 7 of them, and they've all gone down to Swansea. And
that's how it works, though, isn't it? That's what happens.
Yeah,
that's
pretty standard,
to be fair.
It is
pretty standard.
If you get a good manager, 99% of the time they've got a good backroom staff behind them. That's what you sign. You don't just sign a manager, do you? You sign his entire team.
You do.
I wasn't aware that they'd all left. I think that's brilliant news.
They have all gone, every single one of them. But for me, it's too big a group.
Oh, the fitness staff can sod off and all.
Staff gone. The fitness staff have gone as well. Johnny, how do you pronounce it? Johnny Conseil. What was he? Was he the fitness? Was he the physio?
No, because when I say fitness staff, I mean like the physio team, the team that came in the summer. They're the only part that remained. Whether that's changed or not, but certainly in the immediate aftermath, all of Carlos's team went, with the exception of the physio team.
But for me, did that team not seem? Carlos's team seemed too big. Did that not seem too far integrated?
I'd say the absolute opposite. I think it wasn't big enough.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think you'd look at most managers. If you brought in, say, for example, Lambert, I'm kind of going on what's on Twitter tonight. If you brought in Ranieri, he'd probably be bringing in 30 people with him. You're bringing in 30 extra salaries, good salaries, because the people that have travelled from across Europe or wherever. And that's the deal you get. I don't think he had enough experience in other clubs to have the right people around him. I don't think he's had that longer career yet. I think, all right, he did all right in Portugal and wherever else, but he's not particularly moved around and picked the best and left the best behind him. You think if you got offered a new job tomorrow, Fudge, and you've got 10 of the best bar staff or whatever in Southampton, chances are if you went to a brand new bar that was opening and they had no staff, and you could bring in your team, they'd catch your hands off. And that's exactly what happens, because as soon as the manager leaves, they will hopefully in Carlos's case, take every other bugger with him that they've brought in.
Go on.
I was going to say, just to kind of back up the point about, did we have too many or not enough? Taking the example of Brentford, who I've talked a lot about over the last few days, obviously because of the fact that we played them. But they today have appointed an individual development coach, and his job role is to specifically work on accelerating the development of players aged between 17 and 20 to be ready for the first team. They have a huge amount of backroom staff there. And they beat us 2-0 at the weekend. So make of that what you will.
Can I also just make one last point about Burton before we leave this? And it's I mentioned this again today on TalkSport on the radio. So I know we're going on about injuries and whatever else, and that is 100%. But there were crosses that went in the other day. There were crosses. Every 1 in 12 Ross Wallace crosses went into the box. 1 in probably 8 Jack Hunt crosses went into the box. A couple of chuffing Dave Jones probably shots went into the box. The balls were getting in, and Adam Reach as well. We still had, and I hate to bring this back to recruitment and to the manager that's left, but we still had £13.5 million up front there that couldn't score against Stephen Bywater. That to me is an issue. And they are, in theory,
why is everybody all of a sudden hating Bywater?
I love Bywater. I think he's great. He's a lovely, lovely bloke. I've known him for years. But he's the guy that pulled someone's shorts down against Leeds and then got absolutely stuffed and annihilated. He's an older keeper now. He's a bit of a nutcase. He's a cage fighter in his spare time, so I don't want to say too much about him. But we've got £13 million worth of strikers there that can't score against a keeper that we were rid of years ago, because he wasn't good enough. It wasn't because he went on to bigger, better things. He wasn't good enough. We let him go. And we're making all these excuses about, squad being out injured and whatever else. But actually, those two strikers, in my mind, probably with Hooper alongside them, are probably they're not my personal first two, but but I would imagine they are most people's top two choice strikers, or at least new managers' top two choice strikers, and they can't score. So what is going wrong? That amount of money there is probably worth more. The two strikers, I would imagine, are probably worth more, if not slightly less, than the whole of Burton's squad put together, and we can't score.
Yeah, well, I mean, that brings us back to the point, doesn't it, that we need a new manager through the door who can sort out this stuff that's going wrong. It's absolutely true that we've got players that should be scoring goals and they're not doing. And I think that the quality of some of the delivery on New Year's Day was pretty shocking. And Ross Wallace probably had as bad a game as I've seen him having a Wednesday shirt, and it was really. It was really poor. The one kind of shining light, if anything, the one person who did put 100% in was Adam Reach. But obviously he's playing in a much more central position at the moment, which suits him quite well, and he seems to be quite up for it. But it does mean that he's not on the wing getting the ball into the box. So there is work to be done for a new head coach, and let's move on to that subject. Because since Carlos left, we've had various rumours doing the rounds, and literally this evening, as we record this, the latest rumour doing the rounds is that Paul Lambert could well be a done deal announced tomorrow morning, which probably means that it won't be. But thoughts on this? Thoughts on Paul Lambert? Thoughts on who you think the right person is for the job? Vic?
I don't want to come back to it, but as I said today on TalkSport, James, I think Chansiri's got the money, and he's shown that he's not afraid to spend it. Like for example, Mr. Jordan Rhodes, he's not afraid to spend his money. He's willing to put that money in there. And does a manager affect financial fair play? I don't think he does he? But I have to come back to you on this, James.
It's everything.
It does.
Yeah, it's everything.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Okay, but I would imagine, that maybe we will get the Chansiri Stadium or something if we need to in order to get in a good manager. And I wouldn't put it past him to put money into this. I wouldn't put it past him into getting, Ranieri's name has been mentioned. I mean, like, what's he ever done? But like, his name's been mentioned around there, and he's. I mean, when I looked, because I said I'm sure it's the guy that sold Dennis Wise when we're talking about it, because obviously we all know what he's done in the last couple of years. But when I was thinking back to his Chelsea days, I was like, I'm sure he's the guy that sold Dennis Wise, and he was. But he was also known as the Tinker Man. So he does tinker with the squad, and I think that is exactly what we need, because we have probably got 22 decent Championship players that just aren't playing well at the moment. Let's be honest. Probably scrap off 5 of those and get rid of them in January. But the rest are, all right. We've not got the worst squad in the league by any means, and on paper we've probably got one of the top 6. But as it stands, we can't score against Stephen Bywater. So I wouldn't put it past Chansiri to put money in his pocket and go for somebody big. I think the Steve McLaren rumour, I personally think was deliberately put out, or I would imagine was deliberately put out by somebody within Sheffield Wednesday just to test the water and see how the fans would react. And if we look at Chansiri and what he said about, like Mr. Chansiri's what he said about how he knows football and whatever else, he doesn't particularly. He's followed football. His kids are into football. I think with the McLaren thing, as far as he knows, he was the England manager, so it's a big name. So they tested the water. They saw the fans go, oh, like Dave Jones getting a pass, and kind of backtracked on that and said, oh no, actually no, we're not doing that. We just spoke to him. So I think he's got the idea now that people either have mediocre expectations, as in getting a Fudge term, a shit kicker who's going to bring in sort of a bit of English nous to it and kind of tell them what for, or we go all out, spend a lot of money on a foreign manager like a Ranieri. I don't think AVB, I don't know, I can't see that happening. Or there's the guy from Shakhtar Donetsk, he's got a really good ratio, he looks all right. Joe Palmer must know him. But it's going to be Paul Lambert, isn't it? Let's be honest. Fudge? However, James, just to mention, I was once on Sky Sports and did a fans quiz, which was something like Take It Like a Fan, I think it was called. And I got a question right on Paul Lambert. So I'll find you that on YouTube.
I look forward to it.
There you are then. With me, I don't know, because Chansiri before came completely out the left field with Carlos, and for 2/3 of the time it was relatively successful. So are we going to get an absolute unknown again? You know, I think it's probably 80%. I mean, what really does Chansiri know about Paul Lambert? Now, over the time, we've had these people come to the club, and we've had these. Like Glenn Roeder came in, didn't he? And we had these. I want to say bandwagon jumpers, if that makes sense. For why? So we've had these people come in to try and advise Chansiri on what it's like to run a football club in this country. Now, they've all come and gone. They've all come, earned some money, and left. And I think they've kind of taken Chansiri for a bit of a ride, if I'm honest. Absolute awful advice on how to run a football club, or he's chose to ignore it. So when it comes to hiring a new manager, somebody got in his ear for Carlos, because we had all the same ones. You had your Megs and back, and then Paul Lambert, and there'd have been probably Pardew, Moyes, Allardyce, or all them. They'd have been in there as well. And then we end up with Carlos Carvalho. Now, there must be somebody working behind the scenes that knows more about football than we do. I mean, European football. Someone who's plugged in somewhere. I mean, I'm assuming we're going to talk about this new CEO at some point. But, there is somebody who has Chansiri's ear. And I think we're probably going to end up relatively unknown. I can't see Dejphon Chansiri going, yeah, Paul Lambert's your man for me. Who's that? That's the geezer who oh, God, I don't know. That's the bloke who... I know. It's the geezer that beat Norwich 7-1 on the first day of season, managing Colchester, and then got the gig the week after. That's him. That was about 8 years ago now. What's he really done since? It's an odd one. I think he's going to go random. I think we're going to have somebody that is well thought of in Europe that we don't know who it is. A lot like those random coaches that Charlton got the last couple of years.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to see. I think that he will. His advisors aren't going to be stupid, and that they recognise that this season now is defined by the fact that we're scrapping to stay in the Championship. That's what this season has become. So bringing in an unknown coach from abroad, probably not what we need. Bringing in a Ranieri, probably not what we need. They're all managers that are used to working with a good, developed behind the scenes system at a football club that they can come in and they just become the head coach that heads it all up. We don't have any of that. We don't have a system. We don't have a behind the scenes.
Yeah, but you're not telling me Ranieri hasn't got 30 staff that he'll bring with him. We've just been saying that 2 minutes ago. He'll have like a full back team squad that'll like pick up all the slack that's been happening over the last few weeks, surely.
But it doesn't matter if I mean, you've made comments before about how bad the training facilities are at Hillsborough because it's built on concrete. The difference, and Sam Hutchinson touched on this, didn't he, in the pre-match interview that he did before whichever game it was, where he kind of gave a nod to suggest that the facilities at Hillsborough are absolutely light years behind the Premier League. You bring in someone like Ranieri who's used to, Leicester and Chelsea and all the facilities and everything they've got, and we probably have maybe 10% of that. It wouldn't work. That's ultimately what I'm saying. I don't think it would work. I think you come here and just think, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this without all the things that you get in a top 6, top flight club, which is what he's used to. So, you come in with a good reputation and everything, and then after a while you have to go on your way because it just doesn't work. The same would happen, I think, with Andre Villas-Boas. I think he would come in and just be like, hang on, where's my guy that's advising me on this, and where's the guy that takes care of this, and where's the nutritionist, and where's the such and such, and where's the such and such? Oh, well, we haven't got any of those because we haven't got a system. So in my mind, what we need is a good old-fashioned English manager. Right now, that's what we need. We need someone that can come in and tell them, right, you lot are supposed to be great footballers, and at the moment you're shit, and just needs to tell them it exactly like it is. And so even though I absolutely despise the guy, I can't stand him and I find him so boring it's unreal, Paul Lambert for me, yes, get him in tomorrow, because I think he'll do that. He doesn't care about friends, he doesn't care about players liking him. He will go in and he will do what needs to be done in order to stop the rot, turn it round, put the fires out, and actually get the points that we need to stay in the league. And then we can get rid of him after that. We don't need him after that. We can spend, in the meantime, we can be working on a proper plan for a decent structure that will see us moving forward. But we can't afford to drop out of the Championship. And at the moment, that is where we're at. We're 6 points above the relegation places. We're bottom of the form table. We are leaking goals left, right and centre. And we've got to recognise it's not about fancy football anymore. It's about fighting and getting the points that we need. We need 20 to 25 points to stay in the division. And any of us can look at the fixture list for the rest of the season and just think, ooh, now where are they going to come from? And it means going back to basics. It needs someone that's going to come in and scream and shout at them and not give a... Carlos defended his players to the hills and they were friends. We all know that he was friends with his players, and it didn't work. And we need someone that comes in that couldn't give... I think Paul Lambert's said in the past that he's got one friend that he's made from all the different clubs that he's worked at. And all the rest, he doesn't care. He's not interested in making friends. To me, right now, that's kind of what we need.
So would you put Lambert in till the end of the season, or would you have him? Would you have him there to try?
I think
something new.
I'd get him in on a rolling 1-year contract, which is fairly commonplace now. That's what Carlos was on, wasn't it? And that means at any point when you get rid of him, you've got to pay him a year's salary. But it doesn't mean you're tied down to a 3 or 4 year deal. So a rolling 1-year contract, and then it means in the meantime that we can get a team of people looking at something, a decent setup for the summer, and then you can start looking at your likes of, and I'm not saying that I ever think it would happen, but your likes of Ranieri and your likes of ABB. You can start looking at those, thinking ahead to the summer. But you also need the sporting director in, and you also need the director of football type figure in. You need a proper setup for a head coach like that to be able to come in and make a success of it. You need a full behind the scenes setup, which we're miles away from at the moment. Short term fix with an eye towards a longer term plan, I think is, in my mind, I think that's what we need.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
Fudge, you kind of touched on this ever so slightly earlier, something that we have to talk about and something that has certainly caused a major reaction within the fan base, which is the appointment of a CEO. Now, a lot of us have been saying for a while, we need a CEO. At the moment, we've got a chairman, or we've had for a while a chairman that's kind of making all the calls himself and kind of a bit of a one-man band, really. And, why have we not got a CEO through the door? And he said a few times he doesn't think that it's right. Out of the blue, along comes a CEO, Katria Mier, who has been chief exec at Charlton for a while. I don't think we particularly need to spend much time going over what Charlton fans think about it, because that's been very well documented. But I'd be interested to find out what you two think.
Well, I can tell you this. I was, one of those fans saying, why isn't there a CEO? I believe that Dave Monchansieri had control over every single decision across the club. Has slowed us down, especially from a off the pitch kind of direction. So the things have got something to do with it. This sponsorship, that off the field matters. We've been crying out for CEO, somebody based over here that is going to go yes, no, do it, or even just reduce it down to a pamphlet that you can email to and go. I want a yes, no on this, yes, no on that, yes, no on this, yes, no, all right, bingo, done. You know what I mean? Something like that. And we finally get one. This is great news. This is, we've got one. This is, we can start making these decisions. We can go to, has next year's kit been signed off yet? I hope so. That sort of thing. Are we going to move forward in terms of marketing and development as a business? Now, The rub with this comes somebody whose first job in football was an absolute unmitigated disaster. And I have got to question the sanity and decision-making process of a man who's given somebody their second job in football with a CV such as that. I find this incredible. And the only thing I can come up with, the only thing I can justify this with is scapegoatism. Have we employed somebody that DC can make the bad guy? Have we employed somebody that he can go, hey, it weren't me, it was her. She's the one doing all these decisions. I'm at home. I'm out with the kids. I went to Skegness Beach on the donkeys. Do you know what I mean? It's not me, it's her. Is that what's happening? Because Joe Palmer got thrown under the bus not 6 months ago. So is that what's happening? Because for me personally, I cannot understand how this is what's happened. And like you said, James, we don't want to dwell on it too much, but she's famous for calling the Charlton fans racist. She called them customers. The bed sheet with down on her. That's our CEO. Why would we do that? Why would that be something that we do as a club and go, there you are, that's what it is? I find it insane. But you never know. Maybe it does need somebody to come in and be a little ruthless. Or do we have a sense of entitlement as fans that we shouldn't really have? And that's why she's been brought in specifically. So I'm happy to wait for the proof in the pudding, but I still got to question that has put somebody like that in charge of decisions at the football club.
I've struggled with this. I've got a couple of friends who are Charlton fans who text me straight away like, "Oh my God, have you seen this?" And I hadn't, so I was already in the ground by that point because I was on my own, James, with my dad, so I went in early.
Well, hang on your own with your dad. That's not on your own.
Yeah, but my dad goes in at like 1:30, 2 o'clock. I had to go and sit in the ground. It's all right. I met my friend. It's fine. I had a hot dog, £4. I had a Diet Coke, £2.50. Just found that out on my bank statement. But anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of. I'd love her to do well. Not particularly because she's a woman. There's all this stuff about how she's claimed people have been, like Fudge said, sexist, racist, whatever else. That, to me, I've got no interest if she's man, woman or beast. If she can do the job right, that's fine. And I do think, and I don't want to be too controversial on this, but in a way, we've all been going to Hillsborough for God knows how many years. I'm in my 30th year now, as of 2018, and I turned 30 in June. That's how long I've been going. But I am a customer. That's what I do. I pay to go, I pay to watch, I pay for a cup of tea, I pay for a Diet Coke at extortionate prices. That's what I do because I'm a customer of the football club. It's not, they don't owe me anything. They don't owe me anything. Or they don't owe me a refund on my season ticket, which we'll come to. They don't owe me particularly, they don't particularly owe me a new shirt every season.
I think
there's
some people that had some shares with Wednesday night now go just spit in there saying, don't owe me anything.
I had shares with Wednesday night, so I'm on that boat as well. But I can kind of see, and we've talked before about, with Carlos with the broken English thing and sometimes how things can be translated and did she genuinely mean you aren't a fan, you have no reason, you're just a customer? Or was she trying to explain it from a business point of view, which, let's be honest, football is a business. It always has been. We're all talking about, modern football's a business. It's always been a bloody business. No one went into it to spaff 100 million down the drain. Everyone goes into it as a business. Chansiri's a businessman.
I don't think that was lost in translation whatsoever. I think that was 100% her being smarmy, going, ha ha ha, look at these working class fools thinking they are, how dare they? We're the one with the money. How dare they think they've got a say? You know what I mean? She was making it out like, these at the board may as well be on the board at Disney somewhere doing all the decisions. But you're not. No, it's a football club, and I think it is different. And I think it does make a choice. And she was literally laughing and joking with this guy. It's truly painful to watch. But sorry,
I've not seen it. I haven't seen it. So I can't. I'm just going on what I've read in the articles that have been tweeted about her and stuff. And I've shared them because I think they've been shocking to see. And you don't want anybody, like, we've said this a million times, like, we've all got a massive chip on our shoulder. Same as you look at clubs like Notts Forest, they have as well, because we've been there once. We're a big club, we get big attendances. I'm not going to say the M word. We get huge attendances. we get for this level of what we're playing at as well. You know, the 24,000 there the other night. Like, what the hell? Like, why? It's crap. Don't go. But at the end of the day, we all pay to go because that's what we do. It's in our blood. That's what we do. And it's one of the only things in my life that I can say I will always do. There's no question about it. I will always be a customer of Sheffield Wednesday. I would like to think that they think of me as more than a customer, but at the same time, you know, we've spent half this season on the podcast moaning about shirts not being in stock. That's because we're customers and we want the shirts in stock. That's how that's how life is. It's a shitty way to say it. It's a really, really shitty way to say it, and she needs to choose the words more carefully. And I think Trevor Braithwaite's probably got his work cut out for him. But it's true. We are customers of the football club, but at the same time, which I don't agree with what she said, is that she said, you know, if you're a customer in a restaurant or at a film and it was awful, you wouldn't scream and shout. Well, yeah, I will. If you bring me a steak with a worm in it, I'm going to moan about it. So, and for the last few weeks, I've been watching steaks with worms. I tell you, all my meat has not been on that fire because it's been full of worms. So, you are going to complain. But again, that's because we feel in our right as a paying customer to do so. So I don't know. I don't know if she's the right thing. I know I agree with James 100% that we definitely needed somebody to come in. We definitely needed someone to manage it as a business from who's here all the time, who's here 5 days, 7 days a week, whatever, running it as a business. Because Chansiri can't. He's got a young family. He's got business interests in Thailand. You know, there's only so much the guy can travel. But at the same time, I don't know. Is she the right person? I don't know.
Well, look, I mean, early time's going to tell on this one, isn't it? And, you know, I think the fact that Wednesday fans have not been very receptive to her doesn't mean that Mr. Chansiri is going to change his mind and suddenly go, actually, I'm not going to bother with her, get rid. You know, she's here, and I think we'll get a better indication over the next few weeks. It's interesting that she joins us at the start of a transfer window. Obviously, as CEO, she'll have a role to play in terms of negotiating contracts and, you know, a role to play in terms of who's coming in and out of the club, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. Vic, I'm going to pick up on something that you mentioned in there, which is the or it might have been Fudge that mentioned it, I can't remember now, which is the season ticket situation, because obviously there is this over the last 24 hours, and I've mentioned about the podcast that me and James Allen did yesterday, and you kind of think then, well, not that much can change in 24 hours, and then lo and behold, pretty much 95% of the talk on Twitter today on the SWFC hashtag is about this season ticket situation. So obviously he mentioned it in his strange 2 a.m. statement on a couple of days before Christmas, on Christmas Eve, and then it's kind of reared its head again now with this thing whereby if you want to take them up on the refund on the season ticket, you email and they'll get back in touch next week. It's all a bit cryptic. We don't really know what the conditions and stuff are, but it's certainly it certainly caused a reaction. And Vic, obviously it was the reason primarily that you were asked to go on TalkSport today.
Yeah, it threw me completely, that. And I think what I said on TalkSport, James, oh God, people are going to switch off by the third time I said it, let alone the 20th. But what I said was, at the end of the day, I think at the moment Mr. Chansiri listens too much to the fans. We've heard that in the steering group when he said, out there, he said the fans wanted Jordan Rhodes. I've got an advisor who looks on the forums, looks on Twitter, listens to this, you know, reads the Start, all this stuff. And the fans wanted Jordan Rhodes. We've wanted him for 3 years, so he bought him for us. And he kind of comes across, like I was saying this to Cleggy from the Cop End earlier, a bit like a rich dad who's trying to do his absolute best that he can because he's away 90% of the time with work. He's got all this money, so he tries to buy affection all the time. And he's saying like, okay, you want Jordan Rhodes? Okay, but I'll buy you Jordan Rhodes. It's not a problem. I'll buy him for you. So he did that. And then with the season ticket thing, there's probably been out of, like I said earlier, 20,000 fans that go. There might have been a score of people that have said, 10 people that have said they want a season ticket refund. So therefore he's listened and he said, okay, if you want a refund. But at the end of the day, like, he shouldn't be listening to that. It's, you know, people have paid for that ticket. You pay for a football ticket no matter what. That's what you do. You know, you don't go, if we won, I said this earlier and it was likened to Man City, but if we won 8-0 every week or 3-0 every week or 3-1 every week, eventually you're going to hope for a 2-0 or a 3-3, or you're going to hope for something a bit different because it'll get boring. And as a football fan, as any sporting activity that you go and watch, you go because sometimes you win, sometimes you draw, sometimes you lose. That's how it works. That's what the excitement is. The worst thing would be to be one of these mediocre, although saying that we are, but one of these mediocre mid-table teams that every season battles to land a little bit higher than 12th. That's poor, that's boring. I don't want to be one of those fans. So therefore, you pay for a ticket because the next season you might have Jordan Rose refusing to take a penalty in the semi-finals because he's too nervous. The next season he could be up shit creek like we are now. That's how football goes. That's the emotion of it. That's what we all live for. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't have bought a season ticket in the first place. But Chansiri should not be offering people a refund. It's not in his business to do that. Like, it's going to screw up financial fair play. It's going to screw up sort of morale within the club, and it's going to screw up recruiting a new manager. Because if that's Paul Lambert or Ranieri or whoever now, and I'm sat watching Sky Sports News or reading the Daily Mail or the Mirror or whoever has reported on it today, because it's been everywhere, it's embarrassing. What manager would want to go to a club that's offering people a refund because they're mid-table and they're not doing as well as they did for the last 2 seasons?
It is embarrassing.
It's bad.
But I'd love to speculate with you, Vic, and you, James, as well. What do you think the conditions will be? Do you know what I mean?
Firstborn. I think it's gonna be.
You email him over.
It's gonna be like it's gonna be Harold, isn't it? It's gonna be like King Harold. Give us your firstborn, or I think it'll be. You can have a refund, but you can't come back for 3 years.
Or
is there anything to be gained from that, though? I'm not sure there's anything to be gained from that. That's cutting your nose off to spite your face. My thought, and I think I'm going to be proved wrong on this, but my thought at the weekend was that what he'll say is that you will get a refund of your whole season ticket cost. However, the games that you've been to, the price of the full price ticket cost for that game will be taken off what you're refunded. So the games that because there was something in that original weird 2 a.m. epilogue statement that he put out which said something like, if fans prefer to pay on a game by game basis, which I thought that's a bit strange. Why would you mention that? Which made me wonder whether or not his plan will be, you get a refund on your season ticket, but all the games that you've been to, you've got to pay for those at the the kind of the on the turnstile price, which is, as we know, quite a lot more than you pay for a season ticket. So what you actually end up taking home as a refund is about like £100 or something. So it's probably not really worth most people doing it. But there is I think I've seen somewhere that it's actually a refund for the games left this season. So you're getting about just under half your season ticket cost.
Oh yeah, surely there are people sat there thinking I'm going to get refunded for the whole season. That's
I've spoken to someone that thought I'll get the whole season back.
No, not a chance in hell. And my friend,
I agree. But someone that I spoke to genuinely thought that.
My friend texted me tonight saying it's £26 a game times 10 left, so that's £260 times by 20,000, which is about $500,000. It's naff all to him. If everyone wants one, take it. Like, it's not, but it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing this comes to this. We're not struggling. Someone tweeted us earlier. I don't know who it was. #DCF. Is that Derby County? Is that I don't know who else it could be. Saying try winning one game all season.
Yeah, that was the season when they were the laughing stock of the Premier League, wasn't it? Let me ask you a question about this then. Is this a thing or is this a non-thing? And what I mean by that is that all I've seen really all day is fans on Twitter saying anyone that does this is not a Sheffield Wednesday fan and should be ashamed of themselves. I've not seen anyone saying, "Oh, actually, I'm going to do it." Is there a risk that actually it's going to be maybe a couple of handful of people that actually go through with it and actually do it, and that all it's really caused is just a lot of outrage from people about the fact that there might be people doing it, but actually in reality there isn't? Does that make sense?
I agree with you, because I think Twitter has also got a lot of things on it where they go, can't believe we've got fans moaning about fans, I can't believe people on here are saying this, and then you look for tweets where people are saying that and they don't exist. Preemptive that they might say that and they're moaning about them even though people haven't actually said it. And you're right, I don't think I've come across anybody that's actually gone, no, bugger it, I'm gonna get refunded for the last games, I don't want to go and watch that. But I think also an interesting up on this about the points. What about the point system and your allowance you get, your privileges you get as a season ticket holder? I had one for 15 years, and you get first dibs on that. You get discounted this, you get this, and you get that. Now all that's going to go, and then let's say we get to you know, barring a, you know, say we have a disastrous season, we go down and we get to Wembley for the playoff final next season, and you've lost all your TPP points. Well, you know what I mean? Because you wanted a refund. What if that was a thing that they offered?
Yeah,
I
mean,
like
that's
I
got to be a consideration, hasn't it?
If they serve you a shite meal, you're going to complain and want a refund. Let's be honest. But the fact is, you're paying for a football match. You're paying for a season, every season. Yeah, you might have better players. Yeah, you might have got to the playoff semis last year. Yeah, you might have got to Wembley the year before. Doesn't mean you're going to get there this year. We all like to think it does, but it doesn't. So you put that risk in. You're taking a gamble the minute you buy that season ticket or that year. I've still got a chuffing year. In fact, I'm due for a year and a half's refund, if I think about it. That could come quite handy in January, couldn't it? But you're paying for an entertainment situation. You are not paying to go and watch them win every week. And Christ, guys, we're all over 29 now. And we've all seen some pretty awful times, and never once would I have considered it. It just wouldn't even cross my mind. And I think it's a PR thing. In like I said, that actually more people have now turned on those saying they want a refund. And I must admit, I've seen 3 people today on Facebook and on Twitter who do want a refund and are going to request one, which I just think is pathetic. I've unfollowed someone from Facebook. I haven't deleted them, so they'd know. But I do think, there are people out there that want it. If they want it, do you know what? Get rid of him. That's fine. If you want to go, you go. I'm sticking with it because I've been here for 30 years. I'll be here for the next 80 years. Whatever. I will die my last year with a season ticket at Sheffield Wednesday. And that's exactly how I was brought up to be. And if we win, if we lose, if we draw, I don't give a shit. I'm still going to go. I'll probably leave at half time, but I'm still going to go.
Well, it's a long way for you to get home. You need to set off early. I'm going to kind of drag it back towards actual football now, if I can, and look ahead to the weekend, it's a break from league action, which I think we need, and we've got our FA Cup trip to Carlisle, with the kind of proviso, kind of weather dependent, because the forecast isn't great over the next couple of days, and obviously Carlisle is about as north as you can get, isn't it, in England. I've not been on Owls Talk today, but I expect to get some form of slagging off for saying on part 1 of this week's Wednesday week podcast that I really couldn't give a toss about this game, and I think we play 11 kids, and if they make it through, then great. But I don't think the FA Cup means a thing to us this season. It has absolutely no significance. We are on the verge of getting dragged into a relegation fight. We cannot risk playing a single first-team player in this game on Saturday because we cannot risk another injury, because we are in dire straits when it comes to injuries. So play the kids. If they win, great. If they lose, then, well, there we go. And we concentrate on a rather important game a week on Friday. Am I in the minority on this one?
No, 100% agree. Let's call back Jack Stobbs.
There's an idea. Fudge?
It's very difficult to get excited about it, and the people with their glass half full will be going, we're only about 12 points off the playoffs, or something like that. But I think, by some weird twist of fate, we could even still eke in. And I really want to get behind them, but something rapid, something drastic needs to change, and we need a result that's going to galvanise everybody together. And I'm concerned that we might not get that for a few weeks yet. I'd love to say, don't worry, guys, it's not all dead and buried. We're still going to sneak in. We're going to get that 6 points, that 6th place. But
what are you on about here?
I thought we're only about 12 points shy, aren't we, of the playoffs?
We're talking about the FA Cup match.
Yeah, Fudge. Playoffs, you have to forget now. Our season is defined as a relegation fight now. It's about getting the points we need to stay in the league. Forget anyone that says, we're only so many points off the playoffs, I've got to be honest, is an idiot.
Yeah, I know. And that's what... Let me bloody finish. Back off. All right. So, we need a result that's going to galvanise everybody together, and we need something that's going to get people together, and somebody getting cheering about the team, because at the minute we've just sat around grumbling about everything, and it's been like that for about 6-7 months now. And a nice result, one against a Carlisle team that we should beat, would be able to just give us something to cheer about, like we did after the Nottingham Forest game. Now, I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're probably going to chuck the reserves out and see if we can rescue something from the season, because we're only 12 points from the playoffs, and we want to make it look like we're at least going for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're playing the reserves now, though, aren't we? That's the point. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think you're right, Fudge, in that way that, you know, we need a win, because otherwise everyone will be getting. But at the same time, if we go out there and put that same 11 out that started on New Year's Day and we lose, it's only going to get worse, isn't it? If we put the kids out, we can go, oh well, we only played the kids, we didn't expect to win it. If we win, brilliant. Let's put the kids in future. You know, there's always going to be those groups of people, isn't there? I think like James said, it's a nothing game now. We're not going to win the FA Cup. I'll put it out there now. I'll put my mortgage on it now. We're not going to win the FA Cup. So why worry about it? Like James said, why risk? We've only got probably 14 players fit. That's it. We've got 14 players, and George Boyd's back with his eye patch. That's it. That's all we've got. So why risk those 14 players on one match on Saturday? Why not just, like James said, put the youth team out, see what happens. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Does it really matter? No, not really. It's not going to affect our cup run, because let's be honest, we'll be out in the next round. Sod it.
Yeah, I've got to agree, and I think, you know, the romance of the cup is all well and good, but you know, it doesn't exist away at Carlisle on a Saturday in January, and I accept the point that maybe we'll get, you know, if we win that game, then we might get a really good tie, like, you know, away at Liverpool or away at Man United or something in round 4. But at the moment, that doesn't exist, and what we do know is that our next game that actually means something is Sheffield United at Bramall Lane on Friday the 12th of January, and at the moment, you know, we're going to get crucified. We've got to concentrate on that game. We can't risk any more injuries, but we'll see. You know, it's going to be up to Leigh Bull, isn't it? I'm guessing whatever happens, even if a new manager comes in the next 24 to 48 hours, that you know, very much kind of their agenda will be set towards the Sheffield United game, and that Leigh Bullen will take charge of the team at Carlisle, whatever happens. So you know, he knows the younger players, he knows kind of the youth setup, he knows the academy players. So you know, it's a great opportunity to play them. And people have been saying all season, why not play the kids? So, you know, well, it's a great opportunity. Exactly. Makes everyone happy, apart from Fudge.
Exactly, but it makes everyone happy as well. If we win, that may well, or if 2 or 3 of them stand out as absolutely superb players, Jack Stobbs not included, like if they stand out as like absolutely superb players, Christ, give them a slot. Like, we've got no one else to fill the bench. Like, we've got some random kid that I'd never even heard of was on the bench the other day. So, Christ, why not? Like, let's just go for it. Like I said, we're not going to get to the FA Cup final. 100% guarantee we are not going to be in the FA Cup final. So what does it matter? We don't need the couple, like the 100 grand that we'll get from the next round. We don't need to play Man United away and get stuffed 10-0 on Sky. We don't need that. We don't need any of it. We need to concentrate on staying in this league at the moment and finishing sort of satisfyingly above the bottom 3. Sorry, like that's all we can hope for right now until we get a decent manager in. So why risk? Why risk even Ross Wallace playing? Why? What's the point? Like, and do you know what? And I hated Megson when he did this a few years ago. I absolutely hated him when he shafted the kids and put them out in the FA Cup. I think it was the FA Cup, might have been League Cup. But it was a terrible decision then, because we were doing all right. There was no need to do it. He just shafted the kids for the sake of it. But I think the game I'm thinking of was like Norwich, or so. It was a long way away. I presume you'll have gone, James. It was a very, very long drive, and we did play the kids, and that was offensive to the people that had paid all that money. But at the moment, you know, if you want a refund for Carlisle, I'm sure there'll be an offer out next week. You'll be able to get one. Just email ticketoffice at swfc.co.uk. But let's just shove the kids out. Like you said, we've got a big game in like a week's time. A big game, that we're, let's be honest, probably going to get annihilated again, and we're all kind of expecting that now. So it doesn't really mean anything. Although a few Blades I've spoken to are as worried as we are. But
yeah, it's going to be which team is worse, isn't it?
Definitely.
You know, normally, right? I mean, this is the first podcast that we've done of January. Normally, pretty much the first thing that we will be talking about is the fact that the transfer window's opened. and that means players coming in, players coming out. And we are over an hour into this podcast, and we've not really even touched on it. We've barely mentioned the fact the transfer window is open. And let's be fair, it's pretty glaringly obvious that we need some new faces in, and it's probably just as obvious that we probably need to pack a few players off. So I kind of set you your homework before we started recording tonight, whereby you need to think of the players that you think we need to get rid of, and the players that you ideally that you think would be really suited to coming in. So let's find out what you came up with. Vic, who is on your list? Not Vic's list. Your this particular, not the list.
Adam Reach is on my list. That's about it at the moment.
I can believe it.
But other than that, my out list is Jordan Rhodes. I think take whatever we can get. It's not working. It's not working for him as a professional player. It's only going to ruin his career further if he stays here. Let him go. Let him go to someone that wants him, someone that's going to play to his strengths, whatever they may be. Someone who's not going to moan every time he floats like a salmon across the 6-yard box. Just get rid. I think he's had his chance. He's had his chance at a couple of clubs now, and it's not happened for him. And I think that's got to be it. I think there are quite a few players really that I think have had a year too long. Wallace included, and I like Wallace. I really, really do. I think he's a character. I think he's a JP McGovern of this generation, but I don't think he's got it in him anymore. I think we've given him a year too long. I think his legs have gone. God, the third spot. There's way too many to choose from. It's ridiculous. I'd probably get rid of Louvens, to be honest. I think we could get rid of Louvens, but that's only on the no, it's not even on a proviso. No, those are my three. So Rhodes, Wallace, Louvens, and Wallace really hurts me to say, to be honest. I loved him in the Wembley season. I thought he was outstanding. Even last season, I think he was okay, but I think this season it's just a season too long for him at this level. Bring in, are you talking if we could have anyone? But obviously not Gary Cahill.
Sort of, realistically, yeah.
Realistic, but I mean, in theory it's realistic, but financially it's not. I'd kill for Aidan Flint. Absolutely kill for Aidan Flint. But Bristol's one of the richest clubs in the world, isn't it? It's not going to happen. They don't want to let him go. They're never going to let him go. But I think just from the gifs I've seen, he seems to be on a gif every bloody week with his spinning plates and whatever else, ironing his shirt and all that. But I think he's an absolutely world-class player. I think he'd be brilliant. He's exactly what we need at centre-half. A good, solid captain. Christ. I think, obviously, if we got rid of Wallace, I think we need to bring in a very nippy wing. I think we need someone... Obviously, we've got possibly Forestieri if he doesn't go in January, which I'm still in two minds about. I think we need somebody who can come in and replace him. So, I don't know. You're thinking someone like a Knockart, aren't you? But whether or not Anthony Knockart had ever even, it wouldn't happen, would it? It's not realistic. But somebody like that, for example. And then I think as a striker, I think you need to. I think Hooper and Fletcher, to be honest, choice two every time, and New Hugh as a super sub. But I do think we need to bring in a striker who can score a bloody goal, because at the moment we don't seem to have one. I think Zhao probably needs to. Well, we've sent him out on loan. He did very, very well. We brought him back, and he's not getting the service now. I think Rhodes is getting the service. I don't think Zhao is. I don't know. I think we desperately need a centre half or two. I think rumours are that Westwood's go. If Westwood goes, then I think we need someone as backup, or for Wildsmith maybe a backup, or even in front of Wildsmith. I don't know. There's too much to change, isn't there? And you should be grateful for what you've got, but half of them are on the sick bed. So what can you do?
I think mine will be a bit easier. I think in terms of the players we need to get rid of, Marco Matthias, bin. Antti Newham,
I forgot about him. No.
And Alman Abdi just absolutely stealing a living. I think Watford knew he was crocked. Now that's me on being. There's about 6 or 7 I'd probably get rid of, but James said 3, so I wanted to keep it brief. And the first thing I'd do, get rid of Big Dave, get Sam Winnell in. Easy for me, that. Players coming in. I agree with you, Vic. Aidan Flint, I think he's a realistic target, but not as it stands right now, because he's well, Bristol at the top of the league and we aren't. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. And I think the next move that he makes is probably going to be a Premier League one. Next ones that I want to get in would probably be Mark Roberts. He used to play for Barnsley last season and then signed for Birmingham this season. Birmingham are on their backside because they're absolutely, here's that word again, rudderless. And I think he's somebody we could rescue from that quagmire. And this might not be a popular opinion, but Pontus Jansson at Dirty Leeds, I think he might be the type of player we're missing. Big, strong centre-back, and that's what we want. What about that? What about that for my own work?
No, 100% agree with that, Fudge. I forgot about Matthias. I forgot about Abdi. I've never seen someone injure the shoulder by kicking a football as many times as I have with Alban Abdi. So
In it. Just stealing a wage, getting a bin.
He was kind of an almost a shining light second half against Brentford. I mean, he wasn't, but he did a couple of things. He looked a bit more positive than a lot of the rest of the team. Is there still a chance that a new coach coming in could get the best out of players like Abdi, Rhodes, or do you think that's it?
I think Rhodes is done. I think Abdi's probably got maybe one more shot in him. I think you've probably got one more chance with him. I don't think anyone would buy him off us now. As much as I agree with Fudge, I think he could easily, I think, happily get rid of him. But I don't know who would take him, and if we lose a lot of money on him. But I think Rhodes is done. I think he's absolutely done.
Fair dues. Right. Okay. Any bits to offer up for tonight?
Do you not have an opinion, James?
No. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Teacher doesn't do the homework. Come on. I've got literally one name actually, which I've had in my mind about a player that I think we should be looking at, which is Liverpool have made it quite clear that Ben Woodburn is able to go out on loan. And I think I saw today that he's been linked with Sunderland, and he's relatively versatile, but he's certainly a goal scorer, and someone that is going to be hungry. He would stand a pretty good chance of scoring goals at this level, so he would be someone that I think that we should be having a go at trying to get.
I do also think this comes back to the director of football thing. I think if we've got a good director of football or a scouting network that can be looking at academies of Premier League teams, we've done that before. We've brought in some really, really good players. We brought in Ben Marshall, and I hate to mention him in a transfer window because every other bugger mentions him in a transfer window.
Hang on, what date are we on? It's the 3rd of January, the first mention of Ben Marshall. Well done, congratulations, well done, well done.
I'm not saying that I want him. I'm saying, we brought him before. We brought Antonio, we brought Halan. We brought quite a few. Obviously, Halan's gone on to other things. But we brought in quite a few players from youth or reserve setups in the Premier League. And actually, maybe that's where we should be looking just for the rest of this season. Maybe don't look at permanent signings. Maybe we just look at people that we can get in to do a job for the rest of the year. And then that's it.
Right then, so we are nearly done and dusted for tonight. Vic, you've got something for us?
Yeah, just a quick thing to mention. I don't want to mention names on it for the reason that I'll come to in a sec. But there was a guy in the car park just off Herries Road, apparently after the game on New Year's Day, that was out unconscious on the floor, and a Burton fan gave him CPR and effectively, potentially saved his life because the guy is now in hospital. His grandson has tweeted about it. He's called Lewis. They've all said that they don't want to be mentioned about it. So if you look back through my Twitter, you can see that I've replied to him saying lots of love to your family and whatever. But there are a lot of people that have been tweeting asking to try and find the Burton fan. The Burton fan himself has replied. He's called Nick, again, not mentioning usernames or surnames. He's replied to the grandson in question and said, "It was me. I don't want any fame off this. I just want to know that he's all right." And I think that humbles me a lot. I think sometimes people just not do things like that for the fame. God, as if if you saw someone dying, you would try and resuscitate them. We all would. We're all human. Probably not Fudge. But most of us would try and resuscitate them. Fudge and just crush someone's ribs. Christ. But he
depends how thick his wallet would be. But
I just thought, looking at the Burton fan that responded and said, it was me, and it has been confirmed that it was him. The Star also got in touch with him or whatever else, and he replied saying 100% doesn't want any sort of credit for it. He did what anybody would do. But I just want to still say a big thank you to him. I think that's, for anybody to do that is great. The poor guy's apparently still in hospital, this guy's granddad, and just want to wish him the best of luck really as part of the Wednesday family, and hope he pulls through, and hope we can all send our love to his family.
Yep, very well said. Very well said. The other thing that I was going to mention, and I only want to mention it just because, this is a podcast that's kind of supposed to cover every bit of Wednesday news, was just the fact that Lewis McGugan has been released by Northampton Town today. And that's it. I've got nothing else to say about it really. Just thought it was worth mentioning.
If you can't play for Northampton Town, he could have set that league alight. There's got to be something wrong.
I mean, I think it's actually earlier on this season, before he left, that there were still people saying, why is he not in the team? He can do a job for us. Yeah. He's gone to Northampton. And it's not worked. So I think we've got. If there was any doubt whether or not there was some issues with Lewis McGugan, I think we've got definite proof there. Right, thank you very much for your input tonight, Vic. If people want to get hold of you, where do they do it?
You can probably listen to me on the TalkSport Drive show. Probably going to be a regular from now on.
Do you know? Can I just give you a response to that?
Channel 5 crew. Yeah, go on.
Just give you a response to that.
James does the Wednesday Week podcast.
He's a very smart guy.
Knows the team inside out.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'll also probably be popping up on Channel 5 soon when they hear of my new fan fame and would rather have than James. But if not, you can follow me on Twitter at Victoria1867.
Does that mean you're actually going to bother going to some away games or something?
Oh, God, no. I'm getting a refund tomorrow. I'm not bothering with away games.
Fudge, whereabouts do people find you?
Yeah, get me on Twitter at Dan Fudge. It'll be me tweeting Scooby-Doo memes or generally just moaning, to be fair. I've become a negative Nelly. And I know some of you are going to sit there and say, we've been like that for years, Fudge, what's the matter with you? But I've actually actively tried to take a break from whinging on Twitter. So if you want to see how that goes, at Dan Fudge.
Good stuff. If you want to say hi to me, I'm at James Marriott. Of course, you can follow the podcast at TWWcast. And get in touch with us via our website. It's thewednesdayweek.co.uk. We'll something like normality next week. Hopefully we'll have Lord Hillsborough back with us. But thank you for your company this evening, and we'll speak to you soon.
There's a chance here.